Happy Friday, everybody. I'm the Prep Queen, Ariel Epstein. Thank you, everybody, for joining the show today. Great show ahead to get you ready for the weekend. Of course, we've got Major League Baseball action, which I think finally picked up. We were supposed to have an afternoon baseball game, and the Chicago Cubs were in a rain delay with the Phillies, so that's in the bottom of the first with 2 outs. Bases are loaded for the Cubbies right now. Yes, Jessica says it's almost time for wine. Oh, I can't wait. Today, though, we've got Mid-Major Matt coming on to give out more baseball props. I only really do strikeout props. He's got a few in other markets. Matt also gets really excited when this one pitcher is on the mound. He's got a couple of props for that one individual pitcher. I actually made a graphic that celebrated the day. Chris Meaney going to be on the show for the first time. He's friends with Pete Jensen over at NHL.com. Told you guys, I know I don't know hockey very well. Well, like I know the game, but I don't know how to handicap it very well and successfully. So I try my best to bring on guests. It kind of rhymes. I try my best to bring on guests who can help you guys out with the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs, which I know is a blast to bet on. I just am going to bring on some other people. I also want to give a shout out to Jessica Brand because the NBA has been absolutely crushing me, as it usually does in the playoffs. My methods in the regular season, super profitable. It doesn't translate to the playoffs. So Jessica's been helping me out. Make sure to check her out in the newsletter at thepropqueen.com. Subscribe. It's going out right after this show, a little after 6 p.m. Eastern time. I was actually very nervous that I wasn't going to make it through or to the show today. I had to take a 20-minute power nap. They do say when you hit 30, things feel a little different. I was out to watch the NBA games last night. I watched the Knicks and the Pistons at a bar. I watched the NFL draft at a bar. I got home at like 11 o'clock. It wasn't that late. Damn, I'm tired. Granted, I do work out at 6 in the morning. So sleeping like 5.5 hours. Probably not great, which is why I wanted to kick off the show with what happened last night. I'll start with a recap of what matters to you guys. So last night, we didn't do that great. Mackenzie Gore in the newsletter, I talked about him at over 7.5 Ks. It said it was a bit high, but he did go over with 8 strikeouts against the Orioles. The Orioles strike out a lot against lefties, so keep that in mind. Drew Rasmussen and Corbin Burns, they let me down. They did not go the way I thought they would. I liked Rasmussen under 4.5 Ks. He ended up with 5. Corbin Burns was an absolute loser. I liked him. I like them both under their strikeout prop. And Burns ended up burning me, and he went over with his 5.5 Ks with 8 strikeouts last night against the Rays. As for OKC, we lost that one by 1. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, that was just absurd. He had 31 points instead of his 31.5 points prop. That game just got away from us. All he needed was a free throw, and we just couldn't get there. Before Matt comes on at 5:10 Eastern, so it's 5:04 right now, I did want to get to what happened last night. I haven't had a good story to tell here yet on the show, aside for Kelly almost murdering us in Italy. Last night I'm at a bar, and if you follow me on TikTok, I already released this. I'm trying to get more TikTok followers, so you can follow me at the Prop Queen on TikTok. I told the story already. Last night I'm at the bar watching Knicks Pistons. I really don't get that into early series in sports. The NFL is a different animal because it's one and done, like March Madness. When it comes to the NBA, Major League Baseball, Stanley Cup, playoffs, when it's game 3 in the first round of the playoffs, I'm not going to get that pumped. Even though I'm a Knicks fan, I'm not like a diehard Knicks fan. I'm just a Knicks fan. It was fun to watch at the bar. So when the Knicks were up with 8 minutes left, first off, it's game 3. Second off, it's the first round of the playoffs. Third off, the Knicks are not up by that much with 8 minutes left. This isn't a blowout where starters are out. No. This is the Knicks. The guy behind me at the bar says, "Are you a Pistons fan?" I'm like, "No. Why am I a Pistons fan? I live in New York." He says, "You're not cheering for your team. They're winning." I said, "Okay, there's 8 minutes left." He's like, "But you should be cheering." What? Why should I be cheering? Okay. And he's like, and I go, "Listen, I I'm not going to like go crazy over the fact that the Knicks are up with 8 minutes left. They're bad. They have a terrible perimeter defense that's going to blow the game probably. And I just like blow his mind. He's like, you know your stuff. Yeah. This guy has no clue who I am, no clue what I do. I love messing with people like this. So then I start ripping off stats. He goes, I don't really study the Knicks defense. I said, oh, okay. So yeah, they're going to blow it. Sure enough, the game comes within 1. So I'm sitting there laughing because this guy is like tormenting us, like funny, but he was acting like, oh, you should be cheering. You don't know the Knicks, bro. Anyway, so now it's within 1, and I go to my friends. The spread was 1. This will be crazy if this game lands 1. The guy goes, I love that girls know betting now. He's like, so this is the best part. And then I'm almost done. The best part is he looks to me and he says, so do you like betting because you like spreadsheets and numbers? I said, sure. Yeah, spreadsheets and numbers. He goes, so are you like an accountant or something? My friend started dying. An accountant? That's what you got from me liking betting, is that I'm an accountant? My friend looks at him and goes, that's exactly what she does. She's an accountant. He goes, oh, okay, that makes so much sense now as to why you like betting, because you like numbers and money. Yeah, that's it. That's how I know that the Knicks have a bad perimeter defense, because I like spreadsheets and numbers, and I'm an accountant. We were cracking up. Like, these people they don't understand. Like, you wouldn't think for a minute, like, maybe I work in sports or something. An accountant knows that the Knicks have a bad perimeter defense. I don't know. So that's what I do at the bar. I talk to, like when you tell somebody, you see in the movies all the time that someone totally plays you into getting on the pool table. And you convince people that they should go and like hit the pool table with you because you're bad at pool. And then all of a sudden you're just sinking shots and everyone's like, what the hell? How did that happen? That's how I feel at the bar. People just walk around, no idea who they're about to talk to, think they're about to be the smartest person in the room, and then I just nail them. And then I always pretend that I don't work in sports. That actually happened with me and Lauren Gardner at MLB Network. We went out for a drink after one of our shows. This guy asked what we did, and we just took on completely other like aliases. We don't want to talk about it. We just pretend that we're somebody else. And then we just completely own these guys when it comes to sports. I'm sitting there last night at the bar with my friends, and I'm looking at like my strikeout props, which were losers. I was watching the Knicks Pistons game. Was like, oh my gosh, SGA, he's off to a slow start. The NFL draft's going on. Oh, and then this was the kicker. The guy asked me, so I tell him I'm a Ravens fan and a Yankees fan. First off, this guy's from Philly. He's a Phillies fan. He's a Sixers fan. I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? He goes, oh, so you're a Ravens fan. Who do you want the Ravens to draft? So I say Starks. And this was before the Ravens drafted him. And he's like, oh, why? And I start going through all the reasons why he's like this great safety and how he's very versatile and all this stuff. And this guy is mind blown. Mind blown. And then I just like mic drop and I leave the bar. It'd be really funny. I'm going to bring on mid-major Matt right now because he'll probably crack up. Matt, what's going on? Happy Friday.
Shouldn't you be working on tax extensions? I mean, like, we all know you're a CPA in your real life.
It's all a write-off. Just don't tell my accountant. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I mean, listen, maybe I work 2 jobs and people have no idea, but I don't think so. The funniest part of all of this is I almost failed accounting in college. It was really hard at Penn State. I tried to double minor. So I was a broadcasting major. Then I double minored in business and Spanish. But when I transferred to Syracuse from Penn State, I had to drop a minor in order to graduate in time. At Penn State, I was literally about to fail accounting. So I decided to drop the business minor.
I mean, at Penn State, accounting is a completely different thing than what Syracuse accounting is. So, like,
why?
It was just going to be a Penn State joke because, I being a Philly guy, I dislike Penn State. So I was going to make a joke. Plus, you made the right decision anyway, transferring to Syracuse.
Well, thank you. I think so, too. But no offense to Penn State, but I did really enjoy my time at Q's. whatever. I mean, listen, congrats to Penn State, by the way. Last night, NFL draft, Abdul Carter goes to the Giants. That's great.
Tyler
Thoughts on the
Warren.
NFL draft?
Tyler Warren. Yeah, obviously, once again, Howie Roseman is one of the big winners. He just finds these guys that fall to him, top 10 talents at pick 31.
It sounds like a little bit of a homer thing, but okay.
I mean, it is, but like, I'll also give your team credit. I mean, Malachi Starks was probably born a Raven. Like, he feels like a typical Baltimore Ravens selection.
Yeah.
How about the Ashton Genty arc? Ashton Genty, we basically had as a free space going to the Raiders originally for the longest time. And then like a couple days beforehand, everybody said, oh, he's going to be a Jaguar. The Jaguars were the favorite. And then entering the draft, the Bears actually were the odds-on favorite to get Genty, despite the fact they were sitting at 10. So we all thought they were going to trade up. And then, of course, in the end, he goes to the Raiders. And people who probably stuck with their Raiders selections got paid off in the end.
Pretty crazy, too, to see a running back go so high in the draft. We usually don't get to see that too often.
No, it's really tough. And plus, seeing McMillan go 8, he's going to be a good wide receiver. Is he really worthy at 8 when the Carolina Panthers had a horrendous defense? Like, the Carolina Panthers need help at every single level and probably should have gotten a defensive player, but instead they helped Bryce Young, and we'll see what McMillan does in Carolina.
Well, we'll see what happens tonight as well, because we've got Major League Baseball, NBA, NHL. I actually made you 2 separate graphics, Matt, in honor of your favorite day of every 5 days. I'm going to get to that one last. Let's start with your props for tonight that don't include one of your favorite pitchers. Abbott over 5.5 Ks. I said I was a little nervous about this one. Why are you not nervous?
So, I mean, I am nervous. It's Colorado. The Rockies, no matter how bad their offense is, they can always have an explosion at Coors Field. And if you look so far, because on our spreadsheet, we broke it out, they've actually gone under more than over their K-props at Coors Field, 6-3 unders to overs at Coors Field. So, yeah, there's a lot of things that are scary, but here's what I like. Mackenzie Gore had 13 strikeouts in 6 innings in Coors Field. Andrew Abbott had 6 strikeouts last year in Coors Field. That's something we always want to look for, is how did somebody, because some people's stuff just doesn't translate well in Coors Field. And so it's always important when you see those pitchers, did they pitch there before? Is it their first time? If this was his first time, I probably wouldn't have played it. I would have rather waited to see. The other thing that's interesting is Colorado coming off of a doubleheader in Kansas City. They fly at night and get there in Coors Field tonight. So I maybe some tired bats tonight for Colorado, maybe some backups who are in tonight because some guys maybe played twice last night. So the situation, I kind of like Abbott here. Lefties, Gore took care of business in Coors Field. So I think that Abbott will as well.
Yeah, I liked the number. Abbott last year was good against high K rate teams. I mean, as a lefty too. The thing that made me a little nervous, Matt, it seems as if the book knows the Rockies well, and lefties are 2-5 over under their K prop. Why do you think that is?
So this is one of those classic situations where the numbers are skewing to the unders, but the only reason why is if you look at the numbers themselves in those games. So you go to Sanchez, it was 5.5, 6.5. You go to JP Sears, it was 5.5. JP Sears is a terrible left-hander. You go to Tyler Alexander, that was 4.5 and went under. Kyle Hart, 4.5. Like, those 3 guys are bad lefties. So all it tells me is that they just couldn't get strikeouts against the Rockies. Mackenzie Gore went over 6.5. Bubich went under 7.5. 7.5, really high number. And Reagan's had 4 strikeouts in 3 innings before leaving with an injury. His number was 8.5. So even if he had 8, he still would have gone under the number, but that averages out to 5.5 strikeouts per game against left-handed starting pitchers. It's the one I probably like the least tonight because, Coors Field's always scary, but the numbers kind of say take Abbott tonight.
Yeah, Abbott's averaging just under 6 strikeouts a game since last year against these high K rate teams, and had 11 against Baltimore. So can't hate it. Logan Gilbert to get the win tonight. Why do you and also explain this market a bit too without, you can take Logan Gilbert instead of Moneyline.
So yeah, this is kind of a market I occasionally like to play in certain situations. I like playing it mostly with home teams for the most part, and starting pitchers that I know are going to go deep enough. And Logan Gilbert, for the most part, is one of those guys that we know pretty much guaranteed 5 innings. Last time out, he didn't go 5 innings against Toronto, so that's a little bit of a concern. But like, the guy is just good for 5 innings. And since, you know, we're fading that guy tonight for the Miami Marlins, you figure Gilbert goes 5, Seattle's offense goes up like 4-0, and then they hold on for the victory. This is a market where you can kind of take advantage because the money line is way too much on the Mariners. I'm sure even the run line is a pricey run line in this game. So if you think the starting pitcher is going to go 5 and you think he's going to get the win tonight, then why not go to the market of, yes, he will get the win. Occasionally, I like to play the no, he will not get a win, because more often than not, there's some value there in that sort of situation. So this is a market that I dabble in every once in a while. I think the Mariners win tonight. I think Gilbert goes 5+ and gets us that victory.
It's kind of like a parlay within itself, so I understand. Zach Gallen, over 4.5 hits allowed, -135. This scares me a bit because I kind of like another prop on Gallen that this may hurt. So why are you somewhat fading Gallen tonight?
You know, Gallen, the one thing that's interesting about Gallen is he's had a bit of a walk issue this year. In every game except for one against the Yankees, he's had 2 walks or more. And there's nothing worse than when you're on a hits allowed prop and the guy has a walk issue. Because, like, maybe you're not necessarily watching the game. Maybe you're watching the game cast and you see guys on base. You're like, all right, this is good. The one thing I think that works in our favor here is Arizona loves to stretch him out. That Cubs game, he pitched terribly. He still went 6 innings. This is the classic situation where I think Gallen goes about 6 innings and spreads hits out. I know I say that a lot, and sometimes it doesn't go that way, but you want to find guys who have length and guys who are in the game long enough to get over that 4.5. Last year, he faced the Braves at home, gave up 7 hits in 5 1/3 innings. Also, if you look at this Atlanta lineup, you know, they did not score against Miles Michaelis a couple of days ago. They still got 6 hits. They've had 6, 7, 5, and 8 their last 4 games. This lineup's really good. A couple of guys have decent numbers against Gallen, so I could see him going 5, 5 2/3, giving up 5 hits, spreading them out over those 5 innings plus, and getting us the victory.
Now that makes me interested in, do you happen to know, and I'm looking it up right now, the Braves numbers with runners in scoring position?
I'm not 100% sure. You know, you look at the earned runs, or you look at the runs allowed. I mean, they didn't score any runs against Michaelis. Like, that was disappointing. I was very nervous about my under on the K prop for Michaelis because he pitched 6 innings. Luckily, he has no strikeout stuff. But like, how do you not score any runs against Miles Michaelis?
No, I get it. I mean, they're 15th in OPS with runners in scoring position, and Atlanta is 24th in batting average with runners in scoring position. So it makes sense, being a bottom 10 team with runners in scoring position right now, according to MLB.com, that they could still get runners on, just not produce. And this Atlanta team has been struggling with that. So the day that I want everyone to know that Matt is absolutely obsessed with, I mean, we are talking every morning that I see this pitcher is pitching, I text Matt, Happy Cal Quantrill Day. What is your obsession with Cal Quantrill? I know you've told this on the show before. For new people, why are we celebrating this day?
So it's like Cal Quantrill and Patrick Corbin Day. Like, we had one of those, I think, earlier this year. That was an amazing day. But it's just like, you know, Cal Quantrill last year was a guy who wasn't much better than he was this year. But the thing that we kept taking advantage of was the outs over, because Cal Quantrill is one of those guys who basically, unfortunately, goes out there when he's struggling and they make him give him 5 innings. Now, granted, he didn't do that against the Phillies, but I blame that on me betting on a Phillies game. I have a terrible record in those games. But like, Quantrill has, you know, he was not good against the Nationals on the 13th. He still went 5 innings. His outs prop is 14.5. I couldn't do it once again this time, but he's just a guy that goes out there. He almost is like, all right, I'm going to throw some pitches. You guys are going to hit it. I'm going to take my paycheck and move on. You know,
I think that's definitely how he wakes up in the morning.
Exactly. Like, I'm trying to see here. He's 30 years old. The fact that he continues,
old.
he's not 30. Old. He just hasn't been good for a while. But like, he pitched in Colorado last year. And so like, I felt bad for him. And like the Marlins brought him in as a veteran guy. And I can't see him staying in the rotation once, Braxton Garrett, I don't think he's coming off of Tommy John, but like the Marlins have a couple of rotation injuries. So like once those guys get healthy, then Cal Quantrill is probably going to get waived and somebody will sign him to a minor league deal. But yeah, I just love Cal Quantrill because he's just an ordinary guy out there. Maybe he's an accountant in his secret life, much like you are.
Maybe we have something in common, except, I mean, I guess, no, not an except. We both like to make people money. You make money off Cal Quantrill Day. You like his over 4.5 hits allowed. You like his under 3.5 Ks, which I guess the correlation is that Quantrill gives up too many hits and gets taken out before he could hit 4 Ks.
Yeah, see, here's the thing that's interesting about Seattle. Their lineup's terrible. Like, let's be completely honest here.
Yeah, they can't hit.
They can't hit, but they're actually in a nice stretch here. If you look, they have gone over the 4 number in 3, 2, 5, 7, 9. 9 of their last 11 games. 9 of their last 11 games, they've had 5 hits or more against the starting pitcher. And Bello, they went under, and that was Bello off of with a shortened start coming off the IL. And then the other one was Berrios, who wasn't very good, but just walked a lot of guys, it felt like, in that start. Cal Quantrill is a guy that's going to go out there and he's going to give up a lot of hits. You look at his hits allowed so far, 8, 7, 4, 8. And that's even with shortened outings. He's a guy that has had a walks issue, so that's a bit of a concern. I don't love the walks aspect of it, but Seattle's offense is in a good shape. And look, we kind of learned this. Seattle's offense against righties makes a lot of contact. They are averaging only 4 strikeouts per game against righties so far this season. A bunch of guys have good numbers. If you're playing DFS tonight, Julio Rodriguez, 6 for 11 with 2 home runs against him. So that's a guy that you're going to want to put in there, obviously with Aaron Judge, who has tremendous numbers against Jose Berrios. But this is just how I'm going to play it. I think Quantrill stays in there a little bit. I didn't play his outs over because I lost the last time with it. But I just think he's going to allow a bunch of hits to Seattle, and I think Seattle's going to make some contact. It's so funny because I always wonder, like, how does anybody strike out against Cal Quantrill? Because his stuff is just kind of mediocre. It's the same thing I asked for Miles Michaelis. Like, how does anybody strike out against Miles Michaelis? First inning, Marcell Ozuna struck out looking against Michaelis. I'm like, what are you looking for? Like, he's going to throw you something right down the middle, and you're going to be able to hit it. But, like, yeah, happy Cal Quantrill Day.
Yeah, those numbers for Julio Rodriguez are absolutely insane. I was just looking at them before. I have a few stats, but Julio Rodriguez hitting .545 with 2 home runs against Cal Quantrill. That's 6 hits and 11 at-bats. Some other fun Cal Quantrill stats in honor of Cal Quantrill Day. His 8.31 ERA is the 3rd highest in Major League Baseball among pitchers with 4 or more starts this year. Only Charlie Morton and German Marquez have higher ERAs this season. And on the other end of the spectrum, Quantrill's 9.8 strikeout percentage is 4th lowest in Major League Baseball. Quantrill's best pitch is his splitter, but that pitch only has a 9.3% whiff rate. So, yeah, he did have a good start last year against the Mariners. But again, like, that's one start. So I'd rather take all those other numbers than the one start he had against the Mariners.
Now, it is a worry that it is plus money on the under for Cal Quantrill here in terms of his strikeouts. That is a worry. I never like necessarily going against the market when it comes to that sort of thing, but it's just he has 8 strikeouts so far in 17 1/3 innings. And he's faced some teams that, I mean, Atlanta, he had 4. The Mets only had 2. The Nats had 2, and the Phillies had 0. So I just think that the Mariners are going to find some contact tonight.
And I also, while I have you, we might as well go through some of these trends in the strikeout prop market that have stood out to us. I mean, the Red Sox against lefties, 3-1 over under. We haven't seen too many yet, though. The A's, unfortunately, our trend is kind of dying, Matt.
Yeah, these things get hot and cold. Case in point, last year, the Cubs were very hot to the under in K-props and then went very hot to the over and then went back to hot to the under. So it's one of those things where you kind of have to ride it. I mean, case in point, the Angels have gone over their K-prop in 12 straight games. Now, granted, yet last night, Mlodzinski, you might have had under 4.5, but they've gone over in 12 straight K-props, which is why Lopez was a fascinating one for me, and I'm sure you as well. Because
my friend Joe asked me earlier, he said, what are your thoughts on Lopez over 6.5 tonight against the Halos? I said, I get it because Lopez is home. Ever since last year, we have massive trust issues against the Angels because that lineup is so hot and cold with their whiffs.
Well, and he's coming off the IL. His outs prop is heavily juiced to under 50.5, which means the books are thinking 5 innings max. And so you're telling me that I need 7 strikeouts in 15 outs total, which happens. I said, Ronel Blanco had 7 strikeouts in 5 innings against the Angels too. So it can happen, but you need a guy coming off of a minor league stint to come in 5 innings, get 7 strikeouts. He certainly can, but I couldn't play the under, but I certainly wouldn't play the over tonight.
I was shocked when you texted me this morning that you kind of like Pablo Lopez under 6.5 Ks.
Yeah, if I wasn't coming off of a not so great day yesterday, I might have taken a chance on it, but I can't do it. The other thing I think was interesting, I know you don't look at the outs market as much as I do. Seth Lugo's outs tonight is 19.5, which is a number we very rarely see. Most times
19.5?
19.5. And here's why. Because
for reference, everyone, 15.5 is normally what we see.
Right. Or 17.5, because the even 6 innings. Colorado coming off of a doubleheader. Kansas City coming off the doubleheader. Kansas City used a lot of bullpen in that series against Colorado. So the books are saying Seth Lugo is going to go almost 7 innings tonight, which he's done the last couple of starts, but you very rarely see 19.5 outs for anybody tonight. So if anybody's wondering why that's the case, it's because of the doubleheader they just came off of.
So they're saving their bullpen, the Royals. Damn, that's insane. How are Lugo's home numbers? Do you know?
I mean, we can certainly look it up to see.
Well, let me see what MLB research team sent about Seth Lugo today. So Seth Lugo, well, he's going to pitch for Team Puerto Rico, so that's the main headline. Lugo has lost 3 straight starts for the first time in his career. He posted a 4.26 ERA during this stretch, but Kansas City has scored just 2 runs combined in those outings. Lugo was 1-0 with a 2.08 ERA in 2 starts versus Houston last year. Lefty, oh no, wrong pitcher. So yeah, I mean, that's all I've really got on Seth Lugo. So he was doing well so his last 2 starts.
And he went 6 2/3 in both of those starts, which is over the 19.5 outs. So it's another reason why. But he also went 6 innings against the Orioles. That wouldn't be good enough. It's just a number we don't see very often in outs, and you kind of understand why.
That's insane. On Zach Wheeler, for reference, we see 18.5 at home. Like,
yeah. Logan Gilbert was 18.5 tonight, and it was heavily juiced to the over. Like the books love doing 18.5s and heavily juicing it to the under.
Yeah.
Because the pitchers nowadays don't go 6 innings. This is why you don't see 19.5. It just does not happen. So it'll be interesting to see if Lugo can do it for a 3rd straight outing.
And Michael Wacha's pitching tomorrow, so they know they have to use their bullpen tomorrow in Kansas City. Just as a recap for everybody for Matt's picks for tonight, he likes Abbott over K's, Gilbert to get the win, Zach Gallen over 4.5 hits, then Happy Cow Quantrill Day over 4.5 hits for Quantrill and under 3.5 Ks in plus money. Mid-Major Matt, thank you so much for coming on the show again. We'll see you next week. Good luck tonight.
Thank you. You too.
You guys know I always struggle with the switch off and guess because every single time it messes up. Okay, coming up next, our next guest is my hockey helper. Everyone knows that I need help in this sport. I know you all want help in this sport. It is where there is a ton of value in the market. I have not spoken to this man in real life. We are about to speak outside of Twitter DMs for the first time ever. He is coming over from NHL.com and NHL Fantasy. Welcome to the show. Let me make sure I do this right with a guest. Chris Meaney, thank you for coming on.
Hey, you got it. You nailed it. Happy Friday. Thanks for having me.
Happy Friday to you, too. How's the Stanley Cup playoffs been treating you so far?
It's been good. It's been highly entertaining. The first round is always great, right? I mean,
any surprises to your eye test so far?
There have been a couple surprises. Certainly the Maple Leafs being up 3-0 in their series. They usually struggle in the first round, but things are different in Toronto this year. Last night, the Vegas Golden Knights lost. I know a lot of people were on the Golden Knights, who are heavy favorites to win the Stanley Cup and come out of the Western Conference, at least take care of the Minnesota Wild as the second wild card team in the Western Conference. But they're down 2-1 in their series, and the Wild look really good. And even looking now, Vegas is still favored to win that series, despite being down 2-1.
Wow.
So a little bit of value there in Minnesota.
Absolutely. And I was talking with Stormy Benetoni yesterday about how much the futures market moves in the Stanley Cup playoffs versus any other playoff. You just see such huge swings in the futures market. But let's make some money for people tonight. You've got a few props, and we love our props here on the show. So there are a few players that you're targeting. And see, this is what I mess up every time. I can't get the transition of
You
this
got it.
production,
Nice.
right? I recover well. Chris, you like a few plays today, players to zone in on. I don't even try to pronounce hockey players' names. So for Montreal, who do you like and why?
Yeah, there's a couple tricky ones there. I still mess up Olivier from time to time. But we'll start with that first one. Yeah, Montreal and Washington playing tonight at the Bell Center, and the crowd should be rocking. I mean, hockey crowds they're insane. A lot of fun. Yeah, if you've ever been to an NHL game, people listening and watching.
I've done Rangers Stanley Cup playoffs before, and that's a ton of fun.
Yeah,
nothing like the gold chant at MSG, but rest in peace.
Yeah, world's famous arena. Not so much this year for the Rangers, but maybe the next. They can go on a bit of a run one last night. But yeah, for tonight, Cole Caulfield for 3 shots or a point. He's got 8 shots in 2 games in this series and 20 shot attempts. It's something I look at when I'm taking a look at players in the shot prop market is, are they shooting the puck? And he is, and we really like that. So he's top 10 in the playoffs so far in shot attempts, and at 5-5 even strength. If they're getting the shots, pucks towards the goal at even strength. There's not a lot of penalties really in the playoffs. The refs are putting the whistles away and letting them play, which is a good thing. But he has 17 shot attempts at 5-5, which is 7th so far in the playoffs. He's got goals in 4 or 5 games against Washington this season. He scored in game 1. He has 11 points in his final 12 games at home. And the top line has been really good for Montreal, despite being down in this series. So he has, or that top line rather, 24 shots and 48 shot attempts in the 2 games. They have 2 of Montreal's 3 goals. So if they're going to get back in this series and get some offense going, it'll probably be from that top line. And Montreal's 10-0-2 in their last 12 games at home. So they're also home dogs tonight as well. And Beauvillier, we'll touch on him just because, this is a player that it was acquired at the deadline, and I think a lot of people laughed. And they were like, oh, well, I think he went for like a 2nd-round pick and that surprised some players, or surprised some people rather. But he's getting a real opportunity, Ariel, on the top line with Alex Ovechkin, who we all know is the greatest goal scorer of all time, past Wayne Gretzky this year.
I know that.
But you do know that. Yeah.
I know that.
Surprising, too. He scored in game 1 in overtime, and it was
the first time in his career,
ever
right?
Overtime in the playoffs, first ever. So he's just doing this is the season, I guess, for Ovechkin.
Well, you'd have to think, right, that anyone who's playing on the line with Ovechkin is getting value because everyone else is going to be betting Ovechkin, which is obviously going to be super public. You're paying a premium for Alex Ovechkin. Anyone else on the line with him has to be good price.
Absolutely. It's a good call. I mean, you could even look at his center, Dylan Strome, and he's plus money for an assist. He has 4 points, which leads the team here through 2 games. And then for Beauvillier, this is a guy that's usually in the bottom 6, playing on 3rd line, 4th line. He's moved around a lot lately, averaged 14 minutes per game in the regular season with the Capitals, not playing on the 1st line, but all of a sudden he's on the 1st line and he's contributing with these 2 good players in Ovechkin and with Strome. So his shot prop is 1.5 at a decent price. Plus money for him to pick up a point. I mentioned he's got 3 points here. He leads Washington with 8 shots. He's got 11 shot attempts, which is 2nd to Ovechkin, who loves to shoot the puck. And, we take a look at a lot of edge stats over at NHL.com/fantasy, and he has 5 high danger chances, which is the 3rd most in the playoffs. And the high danger chances are right in the slot in front of the net where a majority of the goals happen in the NHL, especially in the playoffs. And the Capitals are 2nd in high danger chances so far. So he's just in a really good spot to succeed. Who knows? Maybe we're talking about a different player come next week on that top line. But right now he's playing good and he's somebody to consider.
Ride the hot streak, which is kind of crazy to me because in this next game between Edmonton and LA, the Kings are up 2-0 in the series. I know they're on the road, but they are dogs at plus 126.
Yeah, they are. I just feel, and I liked LA coming into this series, despite them starting at home. They were dogs in the series. This is the fourth time in a row we've seen Edmonton and LA in the Stanley Cup playoffs in the first round. Edmonton has taken care of them easily over the past 3 seasons, but this year is just different for LA. One, starting at home, they've been the best home team in the league. And they have good goaltending this year, which is something they haven't had in the past. And the Oilers don't. They're going to their backup goalie, which I think is an okay move for them tonight. Calvin Pickard, like Montreal, they've been good at home, 25, 13, and 3. The Kings are below 500 on the road. So I think this is a good opportunity to buy in on Edmonton. I still like the Kings to win the series, but to buy Edmonton and some of their players and another barn that will be rocking tonight. Those Canadian fans, they love it. And they will be cheering on McDavid and Draisaitl. And this is why I like Hyman tonight, who's been very quiet, has not had a great season despite having a really good one last year, is that they've juggled their lines around. They don't usually play McDavid and Draisaitl, who are arguably the two best players in the league, on the same line. They try to balance out their offense. But tonight, I think with a little bit of desperation, being down 0-2, they're loading up those two guys on a line. And Hyman is going to benefit from playing next to those two players. So only 44 points in 73 games this year, but 27 and 38 games at home. And last year, he was dominant at home, too. If you look at 78 home games over the last 2 years, he's got 76 points. So he is plus money, I do believe, for an assist. He's plus money for 3 shots. I would take a look at just the point. I think that Draisaitl and McDavid will be very aggressive shooting the puck. But Hyman has been a point per game guy at home. So look for him maybe to hit the score sheet tonight, just with desperation. I do feel like the top line will get a lot of ice time tonight.
So I know that when it comes to the NBA and baseball, I look at home road splits a lot for props. How much does it matter in your eyes in hockey props?
It does matter. And I think it matters a lot more at this time of the season. Because when you look at home ice advantage, sometimes in the NBA, what's home court? You see so many dominant teams in the NBA. I remember the Mavericks last year rolled through as, they started it in series in LA against the Clippers, and OKC and the Timberwolves. They started on the road the whole time. But the thing with the NHL is the coaching, they get the last change. So the benefactory to that is, you can have your top players maybe move them away from the other top defenders that they've been going up against. So again, Caulfield, every time he hops over the boards in Washington, Washington's going to play their top defender. The same is going to apply for Draisaitl and McDavid. In LA, they're going to go up against the top defending team. LA is going to try to get that matchup. Now you're at home. You have the last change. You can dictate some things, whether it's an offensive zone faceoff, you can double shift certain players. So you can get the matchups that you want more so at home than on the road. There's a lot of good players that are dominant on the road as well. But for me, tonight, especially with Caulfield at home and then Hyman as well, playing with top guys, I think it's something to certainly monitor moving forward.
And then how about Kuzmenko for the Kings?
Nailed it.
Oh, that one didn't seem as daunting as Bouvillier.
I know that one too. Yeah, for Kuzmenko, this is another player who was traded at the deadline. LA has been one of the best teams in the league over the last 2 months, but they had a rotating player on the top line. They had Kempe and Kopitar on the top line all year long. They played together for the last few years. But Kuzmenko has created a spark at 5-5 for the Kings and on the power play as well. And this top line has been extremely dominant in the 2 games. They have 6 of LA's 12 goals. And Kempe is one of my favorite players. And this is a trend certainly to keep an eye on for people looking for some other plays. Is Kempe has 3+ shots in 22 of his last 24 games against Edmonton. That is a healthy sample size. Shot prop at 2.5. A little bit juice, but still a pretty solid number there. 5 shots per game is what he's averaging over that span. And in 20 playoff games against the Oilers over the last 3 and a bit in terms of years, he's had 3 shots in 19 of the 20. He's got 26 points over that span. So again, a new player on a new team, maybe in a different role that he's used to, just playing with good players. So for Kuzmenko, first line, first power play, he's got 5 points so far in the 2 games. He's got a game-winning goal. He has 3 power play points. He has 2 goals. He has 9 shots and 10 attempts in the 2 games. He leads all players in high danger chances, actually tied with Austin Matthews. So he's getting to the areas that you need to get to. And is another guy tonight who's plus money for a point. I do like Edmonton. I mentioned that, but this is a player that's really hard to ignore just with given the start that he's had with these two guys.
I love that you're giving us these players that are underrated and have some value. You messaged me earlier and I said, hey, any thoughts on the Conn Smythe? You give me a 50-1. Who the heck are you giving me at 50-1 and why?
It's hey, I may have run out some luck a couple years ago. We had a 55-1 Jonathan Marchessault, and that was midway through the playoffs, and he ended up winning a Conn Smythe. Logan Thompson, Washington's goalie, and he was 70-1 before the playoffs started. I thought he had a great game one. He moved to 30-1, and then I thought he was even better in game two, and then he moved to 50-1. So you talk about it off the top when you brought me on. Just the movement in the futures market is significant, especially in the NHL. Ovechkin is the favorite on the Capitals at 20-1 to win the Conn Smythe. I think it's a
well, I mean, what's it going to take if Washington is in the Stanley Cup Finals and wins it all in this crazy Ovechkin year? We know this about every sport. These MVP awards are all about narratives. What is it going to take for it to not be Alex Ovechkin?
It's a great question. And I want to be honest with you, it's a good chance it would be Ovechkin. What it would take would be Thompson continuing his play. He's been phenomenal in the two games. Most likely going to get by the Canadians here in this first round. The next round, he has a team in Carolina who they love to shoot the puck from everywhere, but they don't score a lot of goals. So he could rack up a lot of saves. He can keep the goals against average down, the save percentage up. And then what would need to happen for him is they get to the finals and he's just the difference maker. Ovechkin maybe gets one or two goals, doesn't completely stand out, is good, but Logan Thompson, we see goalies win this award all the time. And for the Capitals to get by the Panthers, potentially, the team that's been in the finals in back-to-back years in the third round, and then most likely be underdogs, whoever they play in the Western Conference, at 50-1, that's a number that I just feel like will get shorter as we get deeper into the Stanley Cup playoffs, and there may be some value in getting on it now. But yeah, Matthew Tkachuk at 20-1. McKinnon was the favorite at 13-1 for the Avs. He is now 22-1. So I think there's a good buying window there, as well as I still like the Avs despite them being down 2-1. So you're not out of it when you're down 2-1 in the series. You know this, following all the sports that you follow. You can quickly get back into this. And if Colorado wins the next two, he's going to be back up to 10-1. So a buying window for Nathan McKinnon as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I said last night at the bar when this guy behind me was telling me, why aren't you cheering for the Knicks? They're up. I said, first off, there's 8 minutes left. Second of all, it is game 3 of the first round. And it's a 1-1 series. This isn't like the Knicks were up 2-0 in the series and could go up 3-0 in the series. This is called 1-1. And if you're down 2-0 in a hole, like you were just mentioning, then why am I getting all excited?
Yeah, and especially the way that they played early on at home. Like Detroit could have easily won that first game. They could have been down 2-0. They came back late in game one, I do believe, late in the fourth quarter. So yeah, it's the highs and the lows, right? And sometimes box scores can be misleading. You know, when you're watching the play, and we've both seen teams come down 2-0, 3-1. That doesn't happen a lot in the NBA, but it certainly happens quite a bit in the NHL.
Well, yeah, you're seeing it even with Florida and Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is down 2-0 in the series to Florida. And right now on FanDuel, you have Florida at second best odds to win it all at 5-1. Tampa Bay drops all the way to 36-1. They're only down 2-0 in the series. I mean, this is insane.
Yeah, that is an interesting number. And I know a lot of people were on Tampa Bay. That was the toughest series for me to call, Tampa and Florida. Those two teams have been in the finals combined last 5 years. Tampa 3 straight, Florida 2 straight. And Florida, they had the luxury of just resting. I said this to a couple people. The Panthers remind me of LeBron when he was with the Cavs, when he didn't care where they played and who they played. Home court didn't matter. Do you remember when they played the Falcon or the Hawks, Atlanta, and they swept them? And I remember people were debating between Atlanta. I think Atlanta was even the home. They had home court to start. And I believe that was like close to a pick 'em.
Well, it's because LeBron doesn't care to play until the playoffs. So,
well, there you go. Right. I mean, I don't know if the Panthers feel the same way, but it did seem like that down the stretch of the season because they rested players. Some of their star players were not 100%. So they just had the luxury of resting them. Once they knew they weren't going to get home ice, they said, it doesn't matter. We're just going to have a healthy squad come playoff time. they flip that switch that people like to talk about, and all of a sudden they're up 2-0. So there is some value there in that number
There's
that
the
you mentioned with
rest
Tampa, but I
versus
like Philly.
rust, but that also is what concerns me about the Carolina Hurricanes, current favorites to win it all. The Hurricanes are playing the Devils, and this is basically a cakewalk series with so many injuries to the Devils. How much does that concern you about being battle tested, or is that better because Carolina doesn't need to be as banged up going into the next round?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think for Carolina, it's not a big deal because they've kind of been through it. They've gone on deep runs over the last few years. They took care of the Devils this time last year pretty easily before losing in the Eastern Conference Finals to Florida, and they didn't win a game in that series, but they were in every game. So I think if it was a new team in the playoffs, like a younger squad that hadn't had a lot of experience going up against a depleted team, they may be feeling themselves. And they may need to get checked, but I think Carolina is they're fine. But I just don't feel like they really like they're Stanley Cup favorites, and I think that they're Cup favorites because they're up 2-0 and they're playing a depleted team, like you alluded to. They're going to get tested in the next round against Washington. Whoever comes out of the other side of the bracket, whether it is Toronto, Florida, or Tampa, they'll be underdogs in that series as well. So it's nice that for Carolina fans and for them that they're quote unquote layup. But it's going to get tougher for them, and I don't think that they should be Cup favorites.
Where is their value on the board for the Stanley Cup winner?
I think Colorado still, and this was another series that was tough for me, and I didn't want to cop out with like these kind of questions like Florida and Tampa, whoever wins goes to the Cup.
No,
Colorado,
the chat always asks, like, yes, we've had hockey guests on almost every day because it's the one sport I can't do solo. They always are asking in the chat, where's the value? Because it's true. Every day in the Stanley Cup futures, there's a new team with value because they're down 2-0 or 2-1 in a series.
Right. And I liked Dallas so much down the stretch. I was all over the Stars, and I have been over the past couple of years, and they've lost in the Western Conference Final in each year. And then the final night of the regular season, their top goal scorer and Jason Robertson got hurt. And then we heard news that Mira Heiskanen, their top defenseman, was most likely not going to be ready for the opening round. And I switched my tune and I went to Colorado, and they're great as well. But now with them being down 2-1 in the series, they've moved from 7-1 plus 650 in some spots to 11-1 in some spots. And because they're down 2-1, this is why we're getting that number. This is why Nathan McKinnon has moved from 13-1 to 22-1 to win the Conn Smythe. They've only trailed for 62 seconds in the entire series, and they're down 2-1. So they've really dominated play. They've had leads, and Dallas has give them credit. They played good. They're getting good goaltending. They've won back-to-back games in overtime. So that's why they're up 2-1. They haven't had the lead really, just over a minute. But I think that there is an opportunity to buy Colorado. They're still a dominant team at home. I like them to bounce back tomorrow against Dallas. They got their captain back. It was his first game in nearly 4 years. He returned yesterday. I'm sure it was emotional for him. He started on the fourth line. He's going to move up the lineup, be on the first power play, top six as we get deeper into the playoffs. And I think that's a huge, huge addition to have him. So that's where I would be looking. And I'm still on the fence about Vegas being down 2-1 against Minnesota. The Wild look really, really good. But they were Cup favorites as well, like inside the top 5. And I don't believe they're inside the top 7 or 8 now in terms of odds. So that's a team I think you can buy as well. But don't sleep on the Avs. I like Colorado.
Let's just take a look again at Chris's players to watch for tonight. So in that Montreal-Washington game, he likes Caulfield and Beauvillier.
Yes.
Hyman for Edmonton and Kuzmenko for the Kings, points and shots. Which one would you say is your favorite player to watch tonight?
I would say my favorite player to watch would be Kuzmenko. It's just really hard to ignore what the Kings have done with the 12 goals in the 2 games and Adrian Kempe's dominance of late and against Edmonton. And, just seeing his shot prop at 1.5 and getting plus money for a point is just really, really hard to ignore. I would rank them Kuzmenko, Caulfield, Beauvillier, and then Hyman. But all of these guys, all 4 of these players are on the top line. 3 of the 4 are on the top power play minus Beauvillier. But they're all in really good situations to have success. And for Beauvillier and Kuzmenko, again, these are just players that have just moved up the lineup recently. So I don't think there's, I don't think there's been a lot of adjustment in terms of the market.
Chris Meaney, you have moved up in my lineup by a lot because I am definitely bringing you back on. And Robbie here has said that Meaney has a great record of nailing the long shots. So you've already got people telling you in the chat. Chris Meaney, check him out at NHL.com, NHL Fantasy. He's always with my friend Pete Jensen as well. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And it was great speaking with you. Good luck with everything. We'll speak to you again soon.
Thanks. Thanks for having me. Enjoy all the sports that you cover all over the weekend. We'll talk soon. Cheers.
Thanks, Chris. Bring me back on. Okay. 9 minutes until the weekend. Kind of not really, because I have to work tomorrow. I'm going to be on Wager Talk. It's called Last Call, I think is the show. Yanni the Greek, Tokyo Brandon, and Teddy Covers. So we're going to be talking some stuff on Wager Talk tomorrow. I'm filling in for Kelly in Vegas Saturday mornings from 11 to 11:45 a.m. Eastern time because Kelly does not want to work in the summer. I don't blame her. She has to do it all for football and basketball season. Anyway, let's do we want to do NBA or MLB? I guess we haven't done NBA. And when I get close to the weekend, I can't speak. I just want wine. Let's get to propaganda. Starting with the association, these are the 3 most bet on props tonight in the NBA, 1 for each game. The most bet on prop in each NBA game tonight, according to BetMGM, Derek White under 3.5 3-pointers made. That's a high number, but he does shoot well at home. Pascal Siakam under 7.5 boards, and Luka Doncic under 6.5 rebounds. Very interesting. What are my thoughts on those? Well, the Celtics I kind of was targeting. I'm going to slow down. I was targeting Derek White tonight points because, actually, they're not even home. They're in Orlando. Silly me. Never mind. So I understand Derek White fade on the road. Pascal Siakam under 7.5 boards. Not really. I don't have a thought on that. Luka Doncic under 6.5 rebounds against the big Minnesota Timberwolves. I guess I could see it. So those are your most bet on props today. And Jessica Brand said Tatum is upgraded to questionable. So I don't hate this given the news. I just can't bet it until I know for sure what the hell is going on in Boston when your all-star Jason Tatum is in or out. Can't bet it. Major League Baseball, Aaron Judge homer, Schwarber homer, Harper homer, Soto homer, and Ben Rice homer, which is so funny because I think Ben Rice is hitting 3rd in the lineup today for the Yankees. Aaron Judge has insane numbers against Jose Barrios. So Aaron Judge, he's batting .382, 2 doubles, and 5 home runs in 34 at-bats for Aaron Judge against Jose Barrios. So that does make sense. Good job, everyone, by the way. For the public, I think it's great that you guys might be in tune with that kind of stuff. No one has hit home runs for the Phillies today. So it is 2-0 Chicago Cubs in the middle of the 4th inning, but that game is still going on. Juan Soto to hit a home run. Let's see. They're in Washington against Jake Irvin, a lefty. Sure, maybe. Ben Rice homer. So those are your 5 most bet on props today at BetMGM for Major League Baseball. Hitters props to watch. I hope you could see this. We talked about this earlier. J-Rod, he's hitting .545 with 2 homers against Cal Quantrill. Francisco Lindor hitting .500 with double and a home run against Jake Irvin. Judge, just mentioned, his 5 homers against Barrios. Harrison Bader, ex-Yankee, hitting .370 with 4 doubles against Kyle Hendricks. Andrew Benintendi hitting .371 with 4 doubles, a triple, and 2 homers against Luis Severino. Travis d'Arnaud, I always pronounce his name wrong. .357, 3 homers against Pablo Lopez. Travis d'Arnaud. I keep doing that. Yordan Alvarez hitting .500, just 8 at bats, but still, he's hitting .500 with a double and a homer against Seth Lugo. Austin Riley also hitting well against Zach Gallen, a double, a triple, and a homer. I always mention these because it's good for the total base prop. Some unders to look at. Jorge Polanco has yet to get a hit in 19 at-bats against Cal Quantrill. Pete Alonso and Francisco Alvarez only have one hit against Jake Irvin. Paul Goldschmidt, who has been absolutely on a tear for the Yankees, which is why Yankees manager Aaron Boone did not bench him for he wanted to give him a day off when the Yankees were on essentially 2-week, no days off run. Goldschmidt's just been so hot. He said I couldn't bench him, so he DH'd him. But Goldschmidt struggling against Barrios in his career. Willy Adames 1 for 11 with 4 Ks against Nathan Eovaldi. And Jose Ramirez struggling against Tanner Houck, but he does have a home run against him. These are my K props to watch tonight. I've got some in my real locks, but you could look to Kodai Senga under his 5.5 strikeouts. He's not against a high K rate team, the Nationals. Senga hasn't faced any low K rate teams this season except one. He faced the Athletics. He had 4 strikeouts in 7 innings. Righty starters, 12 of the 17 of them have gone under their strikeout prop against the Nats, averaging just under 4 strikeouts a game. Mid-major Matt mentioned Andrew Abbott over 5.5 Ks earlier. This one's probably my least favorite because his numbers are pretty spot on. It's about 6 strikeouts a game, 5.7 to be exact, against high K rate teams dating back to last year. He had 6 against the Rockies at Coors last season, so he can get there. Altitude may not bother him as much. Abbott had 5 strikeouts against the Pirates, 11 against the O's, 2 high K rate teams against Southpaws. The Rockies, high K rate team against lefties this year, but not as many are going over their strikeout prop, so the book's been pretty spot on with them, so it's not my favorite. Zach Gallen has been averaging just over 6 strikeouts a game against high K rate teams. Michael King has only gone over 6.5 Ks one time in the last 2 years against a low K rate team. So that's something to keep in mind as well. I'll get to some of those a little bit more in Royal Locks because I do like those. And that reminds me, I totally forgot that I have to add Royal Locks to the graphics. 1 second, everybody. Royal Locks. Before I get to Royal Locks, one NBA play that I gave out was actually from Jessica Brand. It's in the newsletter, so you could check out the newsletter at thepropqueen.com. Jessica gave a few props that she likes. I'm kind of off the NBA for a while. It's been crushing me. I just can't figure it out. And I admit it. I don't want to give you guys losers, and I know I'm supposed to be really good at it. I gave you guys a ton of winners in the NBA this season since February at the newsletter. It was awesome in the regular season. The playoffs, I'm lost. And all the NBA handicappers I trust also say it sucks. Anyway, that said, we stay with Major League Baseball because I just want to give you guys winners. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm giving you NBA winners because I'm not. Transparency. Fishy lines. This is disgusting. I want to throw up. I admit it. I want to throw up looking at this. Here's what I'll tell you. I don't think that I can get to the window on the Rockies. I'm not crazy, but I'm sane enough to tell you to not bet the Reds tonight. This line moved 12 to 15 cents, depending on where you looked, against the Reds. Over 90% of action is on Cincinnati. I saw some people in the chat earlier talking about why they love the Reds. The Rockies just lost 2 games in a doubleheader yesterday on the road in Kansas City. Riddle me this. Why the hell is the line moving in favor of the Rockies then? That's concerning. The only thing I could come up with, the Rockies have a lefty, Kyle Freeland, pitching. He pitches better at home. The Reds have the 3rd worst batting average in baseball against lefties this year. That is probably why you are seeing this fishy line. Will I be betting the Rockies? Probably not. Just don't throw the Reds in a money line parlay. Don't go bet the Reds on the money line just because they're playing the Rockies and you think that it's a guaranteed win. Royal Locks. Royal Locks of the day, Zach Gallen over 5.5 strikeouts tonight against the Braves. Gallen has only faced one high K rate team this season. It was the Yankees. Gallen had 13 Ks in just over 6 innings pitched. Last season, Gallen averaged just over 6 strikeouts to start in 18 games against these strikeout-prone lineups. This year, 12 of the 19 righties to face the Braves have gone over their strikeout prop, averaging 5.5 Ks a start, over on Gallen Ks. Padres righty Michael King is home. I like his under 6.5 strikeouts. It scares me because King is home. He's getting the Rays, though. And this number against this Rays lineup this year, just a bit too high. The only start that King had this year against a low K rate team, he had 2 strikeouts in 5 2/3 innings against the Athletics. Last year, King went under 6.5 Ks in 4 of 5 starts against these low K rate lineups. Righties, 11 of the 17 have gone under their strikeout prop against the Rays, averaging 3.5 strikeouts a start. The Rays are just not what they were last year as a high K rate team. They're a low K rate team this season. The books have not caught on yet to the fact that the Rays don't strike out as much as they did last season. Michael King, 6.5 is too high against the Rays. Take the under, 6.5 strikeouts. There's more at the PropQueen.com newsletter, so go check it out. Subscribe, hit either premium or basic. You could get the premium subscription, which gets you the morning and the afternoon newsletter, or you can do basic for just getting the afternoon newsletter if you can't get to the show on time all the time. Everything else pretty much is here. I've got to go drink some wine, watch the Yankees, and enjoy the rest of my weekend. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Good luck with all of your bets. We'll see you right here Monday, 5 p.m. Eastern time.